I'm here at the form after we had added the field set element and the legend element, and as you can see, it kind of chunks the form up into areas. You could use some CSS at this point to maybe make a style for the legend element, which would be the text here. You might want to make it bold or italic or a different size. You could use some CSS to style the field set tag or the legend tag. And that would be fine. That would be using CSS to style the form. But I want to also show you another way that is often used to style a form, and that's to put it inside of a table. And in this particular example, I have a table that has two columns. In the first column, I'm going to call it the question or the text that appears on the screen. And in the second column, I have the input area for the form, or the radio buttons or the checkboxes, kind of the form elements. And I've used different colored backgrounds here, and I've used a unique alignment. The questions are aligned right, and the answers are aligned left. And as I show you this finished product, it was possible for me to do this just by going into the original page, which was that two-column layout that had the flowers on the right and the content on the left, and just creating a table. But when students are beginners, they often find it difficult to go directly from a 2 or 3 column layout to adding a form within a table. So what I have done is created a web page that has a very simple table with generic form elements in it. And what I suggest you do is, before you jump full force into your existing web pages that have 2 column layouts, you might want to make a really simple table like this, which just has the text question 1 here, answer 1 here, and style it and get it to look just the way you want it, and then go ahead and start copying and pasting the specific questions in. And if you folks want to use this page as a sample for your website, feel free. I actually have an example of just the form code and the table all by itself on one page, and you can copy and paste that into your existing layout. Get that to work the way you want, with the colors you want and the alignment and all that stuff. And then once you know the table is solid, start putting in the form code. So having said that, let me show you how I'm going to do that. So here I have added an opening table tag, and I've given it an ID of feedback. I've done that because I might have other tables at my website, and if I just use a generic table tag, it's going to be styled like these other tables are, and I might want my table to be styled a little differently when it's holding a feedback form. And then I have an opening table row, and then I have a TD with a class of question. Now, when I look back on the table, I want this area to look different than this area, so I chose to give a class of question to this area. I could have chosen to give a class of answer to this area instead, so you're not committed here to doing it to the first one, but my habit is to just take the first element that has to be unique and give it a unique class, and then the second element I didn't assign any unique class to, because I could have a table data cell within the table with an ID of feedback, and I would be able to control it. So I've got my TD with a class of question. Now I used a class here instead of an ID because I'm going to have several table data cells that have this unique look. So I'm going to repeat this over and over. I can't repeat an ID over and over, but I can use a class as many times as I want. And as you can see down here, I did use it again. So I have a TD with a class of question, and then I have the words Q1 here, and then I end my TD. Then I have a TD, and I have some placeholder text that says answer 1 here. Then I have an ending TD, and then I have an ending row. So that's going to be repeated however many segments of your form you have. So if you have 6 different areas where people answer a question, you have 6 of these. If you have 8 or 10, you just keep copying and pasting. And that's all I did. I just copied this segment, I pasted it in right here, and then I changed Q1 Q2 and I changed answer 1 to answer 2, and that's all I did. And then you would of course change the numbers to match. But you're basically putting placeholder text and you're establishing a table. Once you've done that, you also want to take a look at the CSS code that makes this table look the way it looks. I'm returning to my garden CSS file, and I see that I have another style. Now I just want to point out within my CSS file, and these CSS files can get kind of long and confusing, so hang in there. I have a table style up here for a table within the ID of content. Now this feedback form is in the ID of content, so it would accept all of this style if I hadn't done one important thing. I gave this unique table a unique ID feedback. So it's going to accept what's in the style for content table unless there is something in here that overrides it. Now there is one thing that overrides it. It has a width of 600 pixels. So this style says width 550. It's going to ignore that and it's going to make it 600. But some of the other elements of this style, like border spacing of 0 pixels and border collapse of collapse, it's going to pay attention to those because there's no code here that contradicts that. Now it also says caption side bottom. I don't have a caption for this table, so it's going to look at that code and go, I don't need to do that. I take a moment to explain this because I want you to realize that as the class has progressed and as your CSS file has gotten more complex, there may be more than one place in the CSS file that is controlling any particular element. So if you look in a certain area of your CSS and you go, gee, I just can't see where why it's doing this. I don't see any property or value that would make it do this. Always look upstream and see if there's something else earlier in the document that is causing the display to occur. Okay, so my table style is just basically saying give me a width of 600 pixels. Then I'm going after the TD tag that's in the table with an ID of feedback, and I'm looking for a TD with a class of question. So that's what I'm looking for, all the TDs that have a class of question, and I'm going to use text align right. Remember how the questions were kind of aligned along the right hand edge, vertical align top, background color medium tan, and then the padding is 4 pixels top, 12 pixels right, 4 pixels bottom, and 4 pixels left. And then I have a border color of a deep tan. And then for the standard TD, which is within the table with an ID of feedback, we have a background color of even lighter tan, vertical alignment top, padding, this time with 12 pixels of padding on the left, and then the same type of border. You may say, well, couldn't you have just gotten away with doing TD question here? And I could have. If I had taken this out, it would have still worked. But I have to tell you, when I start out using a ID and I have styles that relate to a certain area of the web page which is within a certain ID, I often leave that ID in all of the styles. It kind of helps me see that all three of these guys hang together. They're all styling the same element on my web page. And if I had taken out this part of the code for this tag, it would work. Because in this particular case, the only table on there is this table that I'm trying to style. But the reason that's scary is that anywhere else at your website, if you put in a table data cell and it doesn't have anything special about it, it doesn't have a class, or it's not in this particular part of the website, it's just hanging out by itself, it's going to accept this code. So I don't want it to work for every single table data cell, just the ones in this particular area of the document with an ID of feedback. So I'm going to leave that one there too. Okay, so that's my CSS. Now let's take a look at how the sample table looks now that I've created all this. Okay, and it looks exactly like I'm hoping it will. This color matches the area on the right. This color is kind of in between the navigation and this area, and then the border matches the border here, and this is aligned along the right and this is aligned along the left. So I'm good. Now I'm going to show you how I would convert that kind of a mock table into a table that had the real questions and answers I wanted to use. So here's my template, and I would first of all save it under the name of the file I really wanted to make, so feedback form or whatever. So you want to save it under a new name. And then you want to go into your form that you built last week. And you want to go in to where you see the question and the answer. Now, in the old days, I had my question inside of a p tag. Well, I don't need that p tag anymore. But I want to copy the label. I want to copy the word first name, and then I want to copy the ending label. And that's going to be my question. So I copy that. Go back here, and where it says Q1 here, I just paste that in. Then I go back to the form, and this is the part where someone's going to type in their answer. So this is the input area. I copy that, return to the template, and I go in, and where it says answer 1, I paste it in. So now I have the question and the answer for the first item. I'm going to save that, and I'm going to reload. And cool, that's what I was hoping would happen. I've got first name here now, and then I've got the area to do it in. And you would go through each of the questions and do that. Now when I get to the area for radio buttons, it's a little tricky. I have the question of gender, and that's really the only question. So I'm going to put that in the question area. So I'm going to put this question right here, gender. And then going back to the original form, I'm going to take this whole section. In this case, I have two input areas. I have the label and the text at the end. So I'm going to take this whole section and put it in the answer area. Okay. And then another area that can be kind of tricky is the checkboxes. So let's go get those. So here I see that I have a question. Select all types of plants in your yard. So I'm going to just copy that. And the P's and the BR's, I don't need to bring them along. And I'm going to put that right here. And then when I go back, I have a big chunk to put in the answer, because the answer is actually all of these inputs and labels that have all of the different checkboxes. And it's really common to maybe copy and paste the wrong thing sometimes when you're going from a template to a actual site with real content. So I suggest you check often. So after I've pasted this in and saved the file, I'm going to go back, take a look. Okay, so it's looking better. I'm seeing that I have gender here, and then male and female all on one line. And then I have all of these checkboxes in here, so that's good. A couple more and then we're done. When doing the drop-down menu, you want to follow a similar pattern. You're going to take this label, which has a question of hardiness zone, and paste it in, and then go back. And here is the whole select and option package, and you want to take that whole area, copy it, and paste it in right here. And then text area, here's the label, paste it right in here with question 8. And then here's the text area tag, which is pasted into the answer 8 area. So I save it, go back to the browser, reload, and let's see what we got here. Well, I've got this, which is my first name. Then I have my radio buttons, my checkboxes. My pop-down menu is perfect. My text box is good. I've still got some areas that have that generic Q1 and or Q2, Q3, but you can go ahead and fill those in as you create your form. The concept I'm trying to show you here is that sometimes as your pages get more and more complicated, it can be a good idea to develop things in pieces. So you create just a table that's going to hold your form, and you make sure that table's okay within your layout, and you've created a form somewhere else. You've got this other file called form from last week, and you merge those two together once you know that both the table and the form are correct. And that's what I did here. So that's formatting a form within a table, and some of you may enjoy trying this.